The Religion of Actors by Charles Lamb. The world has hitherto so little troubled its head with the points of doctrine held by a community, which contributes in other ways so largely to its amusement, that, before the late mischance of a celebrated tragic actor, it scarce condescended to look into the practice of any individual player, much less to inquire into the hidden and abscondite springs of his actions. Indeed, it is with some violence to the imagination that we conceive of an actor as belonging to the relations of private life. So closely do we identify these persons in our mind with the characters which they assume upon the stage. How oddly does it sound when we are told that the late Miss Pope, for instance, that is to say, in our notion of her, Mrs. Candor, was a good daughter, an affectionate sister, and exemplary in all the parts of domestic life. With still greater difficulty can we carry our notions to church, and conceive of Liston kneeling upon a hassock, or Munden uttering a pious ejaculation, making mouths at the invisible event. But the times are fast improving, and if the process of sanctity begun under PG 338 the happy auspices of the present licensor go on to its completion, it will be as necessary for a comedian to give an account of his faith as of his conduct. Fawcett must study the 5 points, and Dicky Suit, if he were alive, would have to rub up his catechism. Already the effects of it begin to appear. A celebrated performer has thought fit to oblige the world with a confession of his faith, or B.R. Religio Dramatici. This gentleman, in his laudable attempt to shift from his person the obloquy of Judaism, with the forwardness of a new convert, in trying to prove too much, has, in the opinion of many, proved too little. A simple declaration of his Christianity was sufficient, but strange to say, his apology has not a word about it. We are left to gather it from some expressions which imply that he is a Protestant, but we did not wish to inquire into the niceties of his orthodoxy. To his friends of the old persuasion, the distinction was impertinent. For what cares Rabbi Ben Kimchi for the differences which have split our novelty? To the great body of Christians that hold the Pope's supremacy, that is to say, to the major part of the Christian world, his religion will appear as much to seek as ever. But perhaps he conceived that all Christians are Protestants, as children and the common people call all that are not animals Christians. The mistake was not very considerable in so young a proselyte, or he might think the general, as logicians speak, involved in the particular. All Protestants are Christians, but I am a Protestant, ergo and see. As if a marmoset, contending to be a man, overleaping that term as too generic and vulgar, should at once roundly proclaim himself to be a gentleman. The argument would be, as we say, ex abundante. From whichever cause this excessus in terminis proceeded, we can do no less than congratulate the general state of Christendom upon the accession of so extraordinary a convert. Who was the happy instrument of the conversion, we are yet to learn. It comes nearest to the attempt of the late pious Dr. Watts to Christianize the Psalms of the Old Testament. Something of the old Hebrew raciness is lost in the transfusion, but much of its asperity is softened and pared down in the adaptation. The appearance of so singular a treatise at this conjuncture has set us upon an inquiry into the present state of religion upon the stage generally. By the favor of the churchwardens of St. Martin's in the Fields and St. Paul's Covent Garden, who have very PG 339 readily, and with great kindness, assisted our pursuit, we are enabled to lay before the public the following particulars. Strictly speaking, neither of the two great bodies is collectively a religious institution. We had expected to have found a chaplain among them, as at St. Stephen's and other court establishments, and were the more surprised at the omission as the last, late Mr. Bengo at the one house and Mr. Powell at the other, from a gravity of speech and demeanor, and the habit of wearing black at their first appearances in the beginning of fifth, or the conclusion of fourth acts, so eminently pointed out their qualifications for such office. These corporations then being not properly congregational, we must seek the solution of our question in the tastes, attainments, accidental breeding, and education of the individual members of them. As we were prepared to expect, a majority at both houses adhere to the religion of the Church established, only that at one of them a pretty strong leaven of Catholicism is suspected, which, considering the notorious education of the manager at a foreign seminary, is not so much to be wondered. Some have gone so far as to report that Mr. T. Y. in particular belongs to an order lately restored on the continent. We can contradict this, That gentleman is a member of the Kirk of Scotland, and his name is to be found, much to his honour, in the list of seceders from the congregation of Mr. Fletcher. While the generality, as we have said, are content to jog on in the safe trammels of national orthodoxy, symptoms of a sectarian spirit have broken out in quarters where we should least have looked for it. Some of the ladies at both houses are deep in controverted points. Miss F. E., we are credibly informed, is a sub, and Madame V. a supralapsarian. Mr. Pope is the last of the exploded sect of the ranters. Mr. Sinclair has joined the shakers. Mr. Grimaldi, Sr., after being long a jumper, has lately fallen into some whimsical theories respecting the fall of man, which he understands not of an allegorical but a real tumble, by which the whole body of humanity became, as it were, lame to the performance of good works. Pride he will have to be nothing but a stiff neck, irresolution, the nerves shaken, an inclination to sinister paths, crookedness of the joints, spiritual deadness, a paralysis, want of charity, a contraction in the fingers, despising of government, a broken head, PG 340 the plaister, a sermon, the lint to bind it up, the text, the probers, the preachers, a pair of crutches, old and new law, a bandage, religious obligation, a fanciful mode of illustration derived from the accidents and habits of his past calling spiritualized, rather than from any accurate acquaintance with the Hebrew text, in which report speaks him but a raw scholar. Mr. Elliston, from all that we can learn, has his religion yet to choose, though some think him a Muggletonian.